Let's discuss rule brushes in Ed. So often when you're drawing walls or terrain, you have multiple tile depths for each different corner. And you have to normally draw them one by one, like this. So I have a sprite for the top corner, it's this one. And then I have sprites for top left corners, and so on. And drawing these one by one can be a very tedious task. Fortunately, Ed can automate this such scenarios using rule brushes. So what we can do is we can define a rule brush. You can access rule brushes by pressing F4. So first we give it a name. Let's say RB blue. And then it supports a bunch of different formats. So this sprite sheet that we have here is a terrain 48 sprite sheet. So it's basically 47 tiles. And now we have 47 slots that we can fill. And if you look at the corners or the edges, you see some of them are red, some of them are green, and some edges don't have any color. If it's red, it means use this slot if no neighboring tile of the same brush is used. Green means the neighbor has to be the same brush. And if there's no color, it means don't care. So here we assign a sprite or tile depth to this slot. We can just click here and choose the corresponding sprite. And then one by one, we can fill this out, kind of like this. And then instead, we can just pick this rule brush and draw. And automatically the corners, the right corners are picked. This works both when you draw or when you erase. So still doing this one by one is difficult. So what you can do is you can create your terrain sprite sheet in this format, and instead of just one by one assigning it to the rule brush, you can go to the auto slice wizard, pick terrain 48 and click generate. And then you can click on this button, toggle terrain mode, and automatically the bit masks are set. So you can just click here on generate rule brushes. You see all your sprite sheets that have rules assigned to them. You can basically select which ones you want to export, and then you hit generate rule brushes. And now if I go back to the rule brush editor, I have a new rule brush that has all the slots properly assigned. So I can simply select it and then go to the draw mode. And now we have our rules. So what else can we do with rule brushes? Let's say we have a sprite sheet like this. This is a 4x4 terrain sprite sheet. So we pick terrain 4x4 in the auto slice dialog, hit generate, go again to this dialog, and generate rule brushes. Now we have a rule brush for our banners. Let's create a new layer. And then we can draw our banners like this. We also have some ladder sprite sheet. So this thing has to be hooked up manually. So first we slice it. We go to count. It's a 3x2 sprite sheet. Now we create a new rule brush. We call it BR ladders. Let's do terrain 4x4 as the template, but we don't have to fill out all of these slots. So before doing that, we need tile diffs for each sprite. So we go to the tile diff editor and we just click on a sprite and click create tile diff. Go back to the rule brush editor. Now we can choose this one for here, and maybe let's choose this one for here. Actually, this one is better. Okay. Now we have a brush for ladders, and we can just draw. And as you can see, it automatically picks different sprites or different tile diffs depending on the neighbors. We can also pick a random tile with some probability weight. So for example, here we have grass. Let's go ahead and slice it. So it's let's say it's a 2x3 sprite sheet. There we go. Now let's create tile diffs. So now we have two different grass tiles that we just want to randomly select while drawing. So we create a rule brush, we call it BR grass, and then we keep the type as single. Instead, we create two tile slots for it. One of them would be the first grass, the other would be the second grass, and they have the same probability weight. So if I choose this brush, if I draw it, you can see that randomly it picks between the two sprites. So creating this sprite sheet can be tedious because you have to still draw all of these corners. Of course, it's nicer if you do that by hand, but if you don't have the time or resources, you can use the auto terrain function. So let's say I have a bunch of solid colors. I can just go ahead and create an auto terrain of a single sprite. So I can right click on a sprite and then click on generate auto terrain. And over here you see that automatically I have a new sprite sheet with all the rounded corners basically cut off. I have a lot of parameters in the bottom to how to adjust the corners. For example, I can increase the corner radiuses. I can increase the cutoff thickness, outer radiuses, and so on. And it automatically creates a rule brush for it. So I can go back to the editor. select the auto terrain rule brush, and basically I have a nice auto terrain. And you can of course customize this auto terrain. For example, you can say on the top edges, so on the sprites that are on the top, I want to add, for example, let's say this banner. So now it just adds or stamps this one sprite only on the top sprites. So if I go back, you see, like immediately you see the changes. So let's say the top sprites, I want them to be blue. So I changed, so that was the foreground. Here's the top. So whenever I use this brush, now the top sprites, they're blue. So rule brushes are very powerful. You can do a lot of things with them. And it's basically good if you create your rule brushes before starting drawing your levels, and then everything is so quick and so easy. Now we can get a bit more advanced. So let's say we want to draw electricity. We have horizontal and vertical electricity tiles or sprites. So let's go ahead and slice them. We go to count, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 columns and 2 rows. So we have some animations, and then we have some static tiles or sprites. So let's go ahead and create the animations. We use the animation tool for vertical electricity sprites. Maybe it needs to be a bit faster, so we increase the FPS, and then we are gonna call it TD electricity V for vertical. We're gonna do the same for horizontal, so new tile def. Then let's call it TD electricity H, 20 FPS. And then we have our static corner tiles. So create tile def, create tile def, create tile def, create tile def. Now we have to create a rule brush. So this rule brush is going to have animations in between and static tiles on the corners. Let's call it BR electricity. And we can use 4x4 here. So the top part would use this. The bottom part would use this one. The left part is gonna be this. And the right part is gonna be this. And in the middle, we're gonna go ahead and use these animated tile defs. So over here we have empty tiles, and because we don't need them, because it's never gonna use these tiles. But if we're using the rule brush and we're starting to draw, we might hit like some of these cases that don't really have to be in the final level, but we still want to see something. So we can assign one of these tiles to just use as the default fallback rule, so we can see what we draw at least if it ever hits these cases. So let's go ahead and just use this, and as the default, you can see this blue check mark indicating the default rule. We can set this as favorite, so it can it's going to show up always on top in the asset search. So it's pinned here. And now we can go ahead and draw electricity. So it's automatically using the vertical tiles in this case. And if we want to do horizontal, so you see, like, we don't have corners. That's why this happens over here. So we should basically create sprites for the corners as well, so we can handle that case. And what we can do manually over here is we can still go to the tile defs and fix these manually. So you can mix the raw tile defs and rule brushes with no problem.